Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Dealer Pod, the podcast where we talk to motor trade industry experts nationwide to find out about their businesses and gain any insights that they may have to help you with your car sales operation. My name's Stephen Douglas and I'm joined as always by Scott Sibley and Martin Carr. Today's podcast is sponsored by Dealerway, the UK's fastest growing platform for motor dealers to trade cars safely and transparently. Today's guest is the owner of DB Automotive. I'd like to welcome to the podcast Mr. Danny Bond. Hello, Danny. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me on. Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff. Great stuff. Danny, I don't think Scott is aware of any of your background, really. Martin told us a little bit about you and that you're a DJ. I never knew to what extent. You're quite famous in the DJing world, aren't you?
I don't know. Yeah, what you call? I've done all right. Yeah, I've done all right.
I've just never heard of a car dealer who's like a full-time DJ as well. I think that's impressive.
Do you know what? You'd be surprised. You know that Dave at Lovely Car Company, DJ, and then have you seen Club Class Cars in York?
Yeah, they're a customer.
Really good setup. So he's called, like, if you Google him, he's called PBH, and he goes all over the world. So it's like there is a few. But yeah, for me, I started doing music back when I was 14, just turned 40. So yeah, 26 years ago. Just knew that that's what I wanted to do. Pursued a career in it. Started making it a kind of a full career from 17 years old. Went all the way through. And as I started to probably approach my late 20s, I started to realize that the crowd age in nightclubs and bars always stayed the same, but we got older. Yeah. So do you know what I mean? So like still the same kind of demographic going out, and I were always looking for a way out. Just because I see it's not a sustainable business, like in terms of like you kind of, you know, the flavour of the month, or well, I lasted a few years, but you've only got so much of a shelf life. So the money that I was making from throwing parties, mini festivals and stuff, I tried my hands at loads of different types of businesses, and fuck me, I failed. Like if you could look at some of like the Company's House records, like over the years, some of the stuff that I've tried, like all sorts of things, and I always knew that from the events, I knew Facebook marketing, I knew how to do it. And I thought, well, how could I make a business out of it? So I started up this business called iMarket Local. And I basically had somebody cold calling all the businesses in the area who I thought could benefit from spending a certain amount on social media, like anything from restaurants, beauticians, anything like that. And it was really, really hard, like really hard. And then one day I stumbled across a company called Players Cars. And I thought, I wonder if I could speak to them and try and do a bit with their marketing. So they brought me in to do the marketing, and I'm looking and thinking, because it gets an insight to the business model, I thought, people are just buying payments here, and they don't physically have loads of cars around them. Like, we're in a small place in Norman, and it's like a house, converted house it was. And they were selling like over 100 cars a month. And it was just basically people were buying payments. They saw a picture of a car, and I was like, right, God, that seems all right. And then Mark, the owner at that time, said, do you want to come on and I'll train you? Like, do you want to come on as like a self-employed partner? So put me through the training. And I remember like first time I got a lead and stuff, and I'm thinking, right, okay, this isn't too hard, because really they're coming to you because they've seen something that you have. And I'll go on to this later. A lot of the time, you just having to disqualify them. Do you know what I mean? It were like, you know, you wanted that you're not going to get it because you haven't got the credit. There were a lot of stuff that was standing its way. So I did that, and there were one day where Mark had found out that 2 or 3 people had left him to go set up on their own. So in one day, found it out. So he had a guy at the time called Damien, who I fell out with quite a long time, to be fair, but I'm all right with him now. he said, I think Danny will be next. At that time, I wasn't. Like, I was happy. I was really, really happy with what I was doing. So Mark made a decision to let me go because, and at the time, I didn't respect him for it, but I do massively now because he said, I can't have anybody in here, which is where people are just going to keep learning what I do and jumping ship, learning what I do and jumping ship. So I was kind of forced to make DB Automotive, and I went to a guy called Carl Bairstow, runs East Leeds Car Sales, and I said, look, can we partner up, trade under your umbrella, trade from your premises, don't need to be there, can have an office. And yeah, we started off first month, sold 3 cars, then second month, like 10. And then I think it got it to like maybe sort of 15 to 18 mark. And I run it from like a little office above like a health place, like where you bought like, ready meals, like protein meals and stuff. Run it above there, and people were happy to come down to the office, collect a car. And then, like a dickhead, I saw this showroom. So I went from an office that cost me £400 a month and went to all in all, after all said and done, maybe a 75, 80 grand a year building. And remember, I had no experience. So yeah, that's my journey into it.
So can you
straight in the deep end?
Straight
Can you just
Straight in.
explain a little bit more about that process? Because I think you've maybe left a little bit out there. So from my understanding, you didn't have the cars, did you, at the time? You were just sort of brokering other people's cars, is that right, when you started?
Yeah. So we'd basically, at that time, I don't know if you remember when there used to be a feature inside Dealer Portal, and you could trade inside there, and really easy to trade, and a dealer had put their, what were it called? Do you remember what it called? A dealer inside Auto Trader put their trade price. It's like a trade side of Auto Trader. So you'd look through dealers who had overage stock, and you get them on the phone because they'd still be advertising it at full money, but they'd have a trade price underneath. You must remember that. You remember that, don't you?
Yeah,
They got rid of it, Auto Trader. I don't know why they got rid of it. So you'd just be phoning people up and saying, look, if I can get somebody for this Evoque, will you sell it to me? So you'd put it out. And at that time, you put it out. We were selling it like 5.9% APR, but you'd have a margin over the car, whereas that dealer might have been selling it full up money, but selling it 11% APR. So you'd kind of be able to work out that you could still save the customer money, have a margin in the car, bring it in, do all the prep to it, and then send it out. Now that model's all well and good, but it's a strenuous model. Like, I didn't last long. That's why I wanted to go to the showroom, because we're a pain in the ass. Like, it's a pain in the ass too, because a dealer could all of a sudden get a deposit on it, and you've been trying to get somebody into it, and then you've lost the deal. But yeah, that's to be fair, there's a lot of companies that still operate in that way, and they don't have anything.
So am I right in thinking you would source a car, find a car from a dealer that's obviously got a trade price listed on the what you were talking about on Auto Trader, and you would deal the customer into the car. Would you get them signed up before you bought the car? Would you take a deposit?
You'd have a deposit. That was one thing where you'd burn money, is because you'd get a holding deposit off a customer. Then the dealer usually wanted a way more bigger deposit than what your holding deposit was. And there were times where it were like customers were pulling out and you were losing. Better players' cars, I bet he lost minimum $5,000 a month on deposits. Minimum. I'd said so, yeah. Don't get me wrong, he'll have got it back off him somehow, like through fining him, but it were that were always kind of the gamble with it. But on the flip side, you haven't got depreciating assets. You know what I mean? It's like you're literally advertising a picture. So for all the things that can go wrong, the constraints on cash flow and things like that were always it were a good model, to be fair.
Were you buying these cars like nearly at retail price from the dealers and putting them more like a margin on top of the retail, or were you literally getting it for a trade price?
In between, really. It were different at that time. You could buy, car supermarkets were selling cars at Cap Clean, and even if the supermarket was selling at Cap Clean, and you were paying them a bit of an admin fee. You're still getting a fully retail prepped car, well, pretty much at Cap Clean. So they
Yeah.
found eventually they stopped all that. Like the supermarkets, like just ramped up their fees
Right.
on it. But yeah, a model that I did, I probably only did that model for maybe it went about 10 months, and then I went into having stock and then mixing a bit of sourcing on top of it as well. And now I'm 90%. I'm 90% stock is what I do.
So
Right.
are you still stocking the same sort of stuff then? Because obviously I remember it was a lot of Mercedes and sort of the higher end Instagram type cars. Is that still the same profile, or have you changed profiles at all? Or
It's the same, but I do try different things out, and I've got my Auto Trader package and stuff at the moment, and I'll try different bits and bobs that I'll buy, but ultimately it's always going back to those same types of cars. But because we're in COVID times, like you're looking at 2021 production, they're hard to get. Like they're hard to get, like a Prem Plus CLA, like in the right color. They don't, you can't come by them. So it does get tricky, and then book drops can happen. And when you're selling payments, all of a sudden you have a massive book drop. Then it can be challenging.
You've only just started going on Auto Trader though, haven't you? Because traditionally you've just always done it through like the Instagram, the demographic on Instagram.
Yeah.
Young, white teeth, big hair,
Yeah.
and
or like
like
you?
young. I'll get the young.
Oh, sorry,
I'll
the white. Sorry about the white hair. Oh, sorry, you said white teeth.
white teeth, not white hair. Yellow teeth, white hair.
Mm.
Yeah.
To be honest, the reason I did Auto Trader was not necessarily just for Auto Trader customers. It was a way that because there's other companies that do what we do, a way of saying to our customers, look, they can see us because we're typically somebody's second car. So say if we have a 25-year-old customer, that customer probably still lives at home, and mum and dad are still involved probably in that decision of what their son or daughter is going to buy. So for us to say, well, look, we're on Auto Trader, like you can see the price markers on us up on Auto Trader as well. It give that bit of trust. So a 15-car package at a couple of grand, I could shave down my social spending, and I'd get some customers from it. It's weird that the difference in a customer from Auto Trader to social media, the questions that they ask you, like an Auto Trader, it's all about your service history. It's all about that. It's all about advisories. On Instagram, it's just kind of have some black wheels. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's the totally different customer, which I'll go on to a little bit later on about what I'm doing with it all. But yeah, it's a totally different way, totally different demographic.
You're like getting the cars in, aren't you? And you're modifying them slightly, aren't you? Like dechroming them, debadging them, black packs, black wheels, that kind of thing, and just lifting the car a little bit more, and maybe he's adding a bit of value, I suppose. And then with your marketing on Instagram, that's hitting that demographic, isn't it?
It is. There's a company I look up to, a massive company on Auto Trader, S James. S James Prestige, you've probably seen them, and like in Stafford, and they just basically have live images of cars they've got coming in, and they put the bigger wheels on it with fresh tires. And I remember looking, thinking, how are they making a margin? But then you realise that most cars you buy need wheels refurbing. Most of them are diamond turn these days anyway. So and most of them might need a few tires. So by the time you could go and buy some aftermarket, replica alloys and get fresh tires on it, like you wasn't that much off what it'd cost you to do a refurb. And the customer's buying a car with 4 fresh tires and brand new alloys. Do you know what I mean? And I looked and I thought, you might only cost you an extra £200-300 more than what it cost you to do all your refurb. So I've started now. I did a big order for loads of wheels. And if I can find somewhere where I can export the originals out, then it'll just be able to generate that, because it's like anything. When you have an outfit, your shoes are sometimes the most important thing. And when you look at a car, it is the wheel, isn't it? It's what people, it's what people want. So yeah, when we do stuff like that, it's strenuous because I've got one person who puts body kits on. I won't say master, like M performance kits on. I've got somebody who does tints and D-chromes and grill fit. So the typical prep time is a lot longer, but it fits that demographic like really well. But we had a 3 Series Tourer that we had in for ages. Couple of £100, put a M performance kit on straight away. Went next day on Auto Trader. Bang, just gone like that. It's just yeah.
We do exactly the same, like mirror image to what you've just said. We buy stacks of wheels. We do loads of chrome deletion, loads of tints, and sometimes we'll put a car up for sale which hasn't got the chrome deletion and no tints and hobby basic wheels, and then you sit on it for a while and you think that hasn't sold, and then all of a sudden you think, right, we need to transform this, and you put the kit on and the wheels and the chrome deletion, and then it's gone straight away, and then you wish you should have done that from the first place.
100%.
Yeah, but it's time, like you just said. We have a guy who works for us in the body shop, does all of our kits, and the mechanics put the wheels on, and then we've got somebody else does the chrome deletion and the tints. I bought a little Mini last week, and it's crying for chrome deletion. Where on the Minis where they have the chrome thing around the headlights and that, and stripes, bonnet stripes, and we're gonna like jazz it up a little bit. But it'll sell the car much faster.
100%, and it's a lot of people don't like do. A lot of people just want to prep a car and just get it on a forecourt. But the way I look at it is that why would somebody choose my car over a main dealer, over a big main dealer? And it's got to look and feel a little bit different. Now, don't get me wrong, it does attract a certain type of customer. And I was thinking about this earlier when I was thinking about this. I was like, for yourself, Stephen, you've got a business where people the focus is to get the finance and then get the car.
Yeah.
My lot like want to chat to me. Well, not chat to me, but chat forever about my car that I'm selling. And then when you start to like go into nitty gritty of qualifying them, they're nowhere near qualified. So we've been stuck in a little bit of a plateau of what we can do with the team we've got, because you spend so much time on disqualifying people. So it's quite a labor intensive job, and there's a lot of people now, there's a lot of dealers who kind of have got inspiration from what I do and the way I do it. And then I'd be interested to see how they handle it, where matey boy's messaging you at 2 a.m. and he says, "Can you get me a good deal, bro?" And then he's never going to pack it. And you've got to speak to them all in the same manner.
Yeah.
So it's a labor intensive sales process.
Because it's a generational thing, isn't it? They don't want to pick the phone up. They're 25 and under. They're all texting. I mean, I suppose we all do, but massively so at that age. That WhatsApp and that Messenger. That's all they do.
100%, 100%, and it's like I got my staff last week to pre-record loads of voice notes in terms of generic questions, intros to themselves. Things about saying, would you be okay if we did a soft search? And I got them to pre-program all these voice notes, and I put them into my CRM, and I said to them, look, talk in your normal text, but every 3-4 messages, send them one of these pre-recorded voice notes, so the customer feels like they're having a virtual conversation with you. And then no matter how much of a good or bad day you're having, your voice is exactly the same. Because I've had it where I've looked at some of my sales staff's chat logs, and if they're having a bad day, I can see it by the way they're speaking to customers. Do you know what I mean? They're getting a bit agitated. So that's what I'm trying to like deal with, this kind of, I don't know, this whatever it is, Gen Z customer who doesn't want to speak on the phone, of trying to build a trustful relationship. And the CRM that I've got, like I say, you can pre-program the voice notes. You just press a button and it sends that voice note out. So yeah, that's the generation that we deal with.
It must be tough, because you must spend a lot of time dealing with a certain person who's just stringing you along, and then nothing come of it.
Yeah, well, Martin, I'll hand over to Martin, because obviously Martin, well, people don't know, Martin spent a year and a half, 2 years maybe. How long were you with us, Martin?
About a year and a half.
Yeah. You know this customer. Customer very well. Like, what's your experiences of this type of customer?
it's difficult because obviously, like you say, a lot of them have come in from just an illustration, and they're just wanting the finance side of it. And then, like you say, you get this backwards and forwards, and I mean, don't get us wrong, you get the people who just roll over and go, yeah, that's exactly what I want, brilliant, you can deliver it. But I mean, I'll never forget. I think I've still got the picture on my phone of one of the handovers your dad did, and the typical. I mean, I don't want to say what the customers are, but like sunglasses, like all the way up here, as if they were ski shades in flip flop, standing there with a new car. Like, you know what I mean? The sort of type of customers, but you do get a lot of I don't know, a lot of question, and I do think the society's changed. You can't get them on the phones. You're right in saying you can't get them on the phones, but you also want every bit of information yesterday. And again, it's not a lot of it, unless it was a performance vehicle. They weren't interested in spec. It was just, does it look right? They weren't interested in what kind of functionality or specification I had on it. They only wanted to know, does it look good on the drive, and can I afford it? It was pretty much the questions there. And then you had to convince them that when it came to deposits and putting finance proposals in, that you were a genuine outfit. They were your three stumbling blocks. Finding the car at the right price and convincing people that you were a genuine outfit. Because unfortunately, like any industry, there are people out there who don't do the job right and do sort of scam people. But it's difficult when, in a way, if you think of Auto Trader, the people who are on Auto Trader tend to be the type of person who's looking for something. So they in their head know, well, I want a 4 Series, or I want an A4, or whatever it might be. So they'll come to you with their requests, i.e., right, has this car got, like I said before, service history and so forth. The people that come via the social routes tend to have seen something, so it could be totally off spec, going, oh, well, I've seen this advert, and the questions lead a total different way to what they do on Auto Trader. Yeah, it's tough because the amount of people you do get, and then you get blanked, and you get, I mean, people pissed up on a night time putting forms in, and oh no, I've got no intention of doing it, and dragging you along, and then they turn out to be finance reject. It happen, all the same ones happen.
So can I ask?
Yeah,
Can I ask you, if you were to choose a customer between the two, and you only could choose one, would it be a social media customer, or would it be an Auto Trader customer?
It's a difficult question, that, because if your car's right and prepped the right way, you'd say an Auto Trader customer.
Right.
But if the social media customer is the one who can get finance and is just purely about the looks, because you've probably got more car available to you, you'd go social media. That's the difficulty.
What about the mix, Danny? So you're getting your leads coming through. So what's the percentage? Are you getting, like, is it 50-50 now you're on Auto Trader with your leads? Or
No. 10, probably 5% Auto Trader.
Really?
5%, yeah, 5%, and the rest, our socials. I'm going to run a test in a few weeks where, so you can do a WhatsApp broadcast now, paid.
Yeah,
And
we were just thinking about this the other day, weren't we?
Yeah, you can do it. So I've got a lot of contacts, and I was going to turn my Instagram adverts off fully and do this broadcast and see how many organic messages I get without spending a penny on advertising, as a way of testing. Now, to answer your question though, Scott, I'll be honest with you. For me, I prefer to have organic social media and Auto Trader. That's what I'd prefer. In an ideal world, maybe when I start to do these, put the replica alloys on the cars and stuff like that, and put them on Auto Trader, I might see more of a swing. But I believe you get a miles better margin on your car on Instagram than you do on Auto Trader. Most of my cars, my Instagram cars, coming in at like maybe 106, 107 on Auto Trader, which is probably nearly classed as your high price. Whereas that, if the balloon's right on that car and the monthly payment's right, the customer that essentially the buying the payment. So it's a bit of both. Like if you'd have said in 5 years' time, would I like to, chill out a bit and just have 15, 20 cars on Auto Trader? That would be a great life. But yeah,
I think the Auto Trader customer is more informed as well. Like I said before, because it's a different type of customer. The Auto Trader customer is more informed, so they've probably price checked your car against any other car. So they might have. I mean, Auto Trader brought out that package where people could reserve cars, and I think it was in the Leeds area. There was a guy went round and reserved 27 Mercedes A classes, put £99 deposits on 27, and then try to play them all off against each other to bring the price down. Because he could just withdraw all these £99 to anyone who did it. But what it did was it cornered the marketplace and that anyway. But so they'll try and obviously they know about the car. All they need to confirm is the service history and things like that. But they've already pretty much got a loan in place because they've been onto the bank and so forth. And right, how much is this 10 grand or 15 grand going to cost us? Well, I'll stick my car through We Buy Any Car or a motorway. So when you come back to that Auto Trader lead, and if you don't get the payment right or the part exchange right, you then get the objections. Well, I can get more for my car that way. I'm just going to get the money from the bank, not even entertain your finance. So probably a social media one's actually even more profitable from that sense as well, and you get the part exchanges as well.
It's 100% finance pen on social media when you're on Auto Trader. It's like you're up against. Obviously, if you've got a good margin in your finance, you're up against it, and you can end up losing a fair bit, which is just part of it. And now, even more, another thing that's coming. So I don't know if any of you have had yet. I'm sure you've had it, Scott. Is bank PCP, like Halifax and Lloyd's doing PCP at 5.9% APR.
Yeah,
Do you know, it's
for a couple
like
of years now.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of customers that are coming with that, and we're trying to like put them into ours. And even though their balloons are nowhere near as strong, doesn't matter when you've put that APR down.
Yeah,
it still works out for them. So that's probably the side where I like the fact that I can kind of put my margin knowing I've got X amount in the chassis, X amount in the finance, and then now my team, I changed their pay structures just literally from February, where they actually get paid more on the warranty than they do on the car. And we've done like probably 60% up conversion rate on 2-year warranties and all deals, like just like done it easy so that you got like more going in. We never did that. I don't think I'd ever sold a warranty, like hardly ever. So
plus that reduces your liability as well, isn't it? Having the warranties on.
100%, it's great for cash flow because you've got, you go and sell 20 warranties a month, it's an extra 20 grand in the pot all the time. And
which is a warranty, Danny? How much is it for 2 years? Because we sell 2 years.
1299.
1299.
Big money, yeah.
Yeah,
It's big money that, and people are paying.
Yeah.
And they're just
you can put it on the site. Yeah, they come.
Was it 30 quid a month?
Yeah, 20, 27, 28. Yeah.
In comparison, we charge $599 for 2 years, and ours is like the top of the range. Auto Protect covers your head unit, your wear and tear, turbo. Like the level of cover is massive, and we charge $599. We probably get about 80% warranty pen. We do really high with it. Finance is probably about 60%, 65%. So when you were saying 100 there, I was thinking, made some of that.
Yeah.
He's effectively got the same business model as me, Scott, but he just does it to a different audience and a different type of car,
But you've talked about doing that, Stephen, over the years, haven't you? Getting like a different...
I've thought about doing a lot of things, and I end up building software platforms and doing a podcast host and selling bad taste bears out of the back of vans, and God knows what. That's another story.
I know that you're like into your tech and stuff like that, and it's something that talk about this sort of disqualification of a customer is for the past month or so. Because I use like a chat-based CRM system, nearly everything's done on live chat in all our deals. You can download the transcripts. So I've been downloading all the transcripts of all the deals, feeding it into ChatGPT, and training ChatGPT to understand my customer, the slang, it knows all the closing lines we've used, so if I can train people, it knows like
Well,
I've
that.
literally got to a point now where I'm still probably got another month to go on it, but I'd be confident now I could plug that into my website and it could get a customer fully qualified, like that could fully do it. And that's where I see my growth. If I want to grow the business, I need to be able to spend more money on advertising and have a way of qualifying these leads without having to have additional employees in the business, because as you know, it's like it's very expensive to employ people now, and to employ somebody who's just sifting through shit basically. So
I
that's
mean,
my
I was going to say to give it an idea of numbers wise, what number of inquiries a day would you say you're getting at all levels?
I guess 45, 50 a day. Yeah, 2 sales staff.
Mhm.
It's
What sort
yeah.
of volume you doing out of that at the end of the month, and Danny? What's that
So we've-
converting deals wise?
So at the moment, it's current to maybe like 40-ish. That's where we are. But the reason why we're stuck where we are is my building, which Martin knows. Like, I can only do so much with a building. It's like it's a lovely building,
I think you've
but
done everything with it.
yeah. I've done. I've
I
built
think
it
you've
up.
tried so many different things with it.
Yeah, I built it up. I've knocked it down. I've had a workshop in there, and I can't get that side right. And in my area, it's very expensive of where I am. So I've been, obviously I shared it in group recently, but I thought I'd signed a new lease on this building. I'd stated in a video back in November. Turns out I'd not, and my landlord sold it to somebody else. The whole of the estate. This is, by the way. So I started to look and think, how can I get out of this stalemate of where we are? And the stalemate goes in a lot of ways. It's how quick I can prep the cars, how quick I can sift through the shit, and being able to scale where I'm at the moment. I'm just restricted to what I can do, the amount of cars I can get out and stuff. So Aston Barclay approached me. One of the guys there, Anthony, approached me not so long ago, and he talked to me about an all-in-one service that they do, where I can their logistics firms can go and collect my cars for me. Like, say if it could go to BCA and collect one of my cars for me. They'll take the car in, do all the prep to the car at the prices that I already pay. Like, in terms of, we got some prices nailed down. Store the car for me if I want it, and they can do the whole transaction, and they actually do it. I won't name them on camera, but they actually do this for a dealer in Newcastle who
Really?
doesn't have 90% of their stock on site, but they do the whole process like for them.
Trying to
I
think
know
who
Uh,
that would be.
I know who it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And when they spoke to me about that, and then because everything going on with the lease, I sat there and I thought, could there be a scope that one day maybe I could just go fully online? And when I watched your podcast last week with Neil, my mind were just going overtime, and now I've took Neil on as a long-term consultant. So Neil's now he's doing 2 days in my business in 2 weeks, but I've got a long-term plan with him, and he was the person that when we went on that call and I told him about this potential opportunity of building it online, and seeing what we could do with a fully online model, which can scale up and scale down as much as I want. It really excited him. And when he asked me the stats, he went, "How many people test drove your cars?" And it was like 1 in 40. He went, "How many people come and have a little nosy round?" And it must have been like maybe 1 in 30. And then he started telling me how much each deal were costing me in all my rent, all my utilities, everything that I paid to have this building, plus dilapidation. And yeah, he just started talking, and it just blew my mind. So there's,
I mean,
my
I know.
head's spinning.
Obviously, you're just saying there you've got Neil on. I mean, I know you had another consultant, didn't you, that you previously were working with? It was like sort of a business consultant.
Yeah.
So I mean, what sort of insight did they give you on business wise? And
So when I had Archie, I still have Archie. I still speak to Archie. Archie's
Mm.
different. He's a bit more of a mentor. Because when you're on your own, this is my baby. There's no partners. There's no nothing. I'm sure we'll all agree here. It's quite easy to be reactive. Impulsive, reactive. Something happens, and when you're on your own, it's quite hard. So Archie's that person. He lives in Bali now, so I speak to him on the morning every now and again, and he'll say,
Archie sounds like he's got it sorted, doesn't he?
"Yeah, he lives in Bali. He built an house in Bali, and yeah, he lives out there, just consulting for people.
Wow.
He just does most of his work in the morning because obviously the time difference. And yeah, he's always kind of leveled me out, but when I've always been like, if you can speak to people who know a lot more than you and more clever than you and be surrounded by people like that, like there's just massive value in it. So I think it excited me when I watched this. It were early on a Saturday morning. I was like, wow. When he started talking about Hippo, because what you won't know is Hippo, Hippo leasing in Hippo
yeah.
Prestige.
Yeah.
Hippo Prestige actually have a massive vehicle sourcing arm that people don't really know about, and they call it used car leasing. It's no such thing. It's PCP, but they're basically customers are coming in off their website on a car, they're qualifying them, and they're just getting a car out of BCA. That's just what they're doing, and then the customer's having it delivered. And he went in there, didn't he? And he did a year at Hippo, and he were there. Like he knows how to help them how to sell things that don't even exist. Do you know what I mean? It's like sending them BCA images. Like I did a secret mystery shop with them. I'm like, it's just a BCA car. And I knew what they were making. Do you know what I mean? I could see.
Yeah.
But it's still they operate really well from it. All they're doing is sourcing a vehicle for a customer. This is one we got coming in. And yeah, so I think Neil will help me sort of take off a bit of the weight of what it's like of the process you might not see. Do you know, in your day to day in your business, there'll be things I won't see. And there's probably stuff he'll learn from me because I don't think. So, Scott, do you know your customers that are probably my demographic, say 22 to 35, like that typical customer?
Mhm.
Are you finding the same thing? It's hard to get them on the phone, or do they pick up the phone with Auto Trader stuff?
I haven't been told otherwise. I mean, I don't get involved in the sales process so much, but I haven't really heard that. No, I think I don't think there's a communication problem. We had a chat last week because we're going to bring a new like DMS system on where the customers can either go through one platform so they can choose how they want to contact us, whether it's WhatsApp or Instagram or Facebook or that type of thing. So that'll come into like one like hub where the sales manager, he can then distribute those leads and the customer can choose how they want to contact us and then which department it's for. So we're busy. We're having talks with the company to do that. I think they're from Germany somewhere, but I think that's probably going to be a better form of communication than what we have at the moment. We've got a telephone and we've got email, but obviously email's slow. The lads are fast on the phones, like we never really miss anything.
Yeah,
Matt, you talk about phone calls. Obviously, I know a PLC within Newcastle, who their BDC centre, literally as soon as a customer puts in their inquiry, it goes straight through into the BDC as a ringing phone. So obviously, if I'm on the computer here, my computer would then start ringing. I could press accept on that. It then dials the customer straight away. So within 30 seconds, that you're ringing the customer who's already put their inquiry in. It's frightening how quick you need to be now with inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Auto dialers. I think contract hire firms are probably the leaders of how they process things because they know that they've had to pay a lot of money to Google for that lead. So they have to be like bang, bang, bang on it. And I think it's the same way. You say there, Scott, probably about what you want to do. It's probably worth chatting with me about that because that to me sounds like a widget that's on your website, which you choose your live chat, and then that we've got systems probably the same.
Super chat that you were talking about, Scott. That's what it's called.
Which one?
Yeah.
Super chat. Yeah. It's like an AI chat bot. It's got web chat and it's actually got like a Slack sort of internal thing in it as well.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
automations, it sends those WhatsApp newsletters out as well.
Mm.
It actually looks really good when you mentioned it the other day. Scott, I had a look at it, and it does actually look quite good.
Yeah,
He was more shocked that Scott had mentioned tech.
And yeah, that I didn't know about. I know I was impressed.
I'm the leader in my field when it comes to
Although
tech.
you did call it a DMS system before, which I pointed out to you a few times as
Toby, you get the data management system on your. Is that not a DMS?
No.
What's that then?
What that thing? It's like a chatbot.
No, but you bring it to
CRM. It's a CRM in it.
CRM.
CRM, yeah.
Customer relationship management system.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, I have different names for all these things. You see, it's before my time. But
You know, before Danny, when you said surround yourself with people who know better than you, that's why Scott knocks around with me now. You see.
I'm just doing it every day when I see him, or every time we do these, I look these little cows lick at the front. I think I want one of them as well.
It is as you'll know from doing these podcasts though. You can meet 10 different people and they're skinning a cat 10 different ways. It's it is just like it's just a mad way of working.
Do you think the motor trade though has got that many different systems for that many different things?
Mhm.
And you know what I mean? And it's frightening if you named every single system that was available and what it done. You have to sign up to so many different ones.
None of them.
Oh, my lot hate me.
Nothing.
Yeah, my lot hate me because I'm just constantly right. Got a new system here. Got a new spreadsheet here. Got this, and they're like, "Oh, for God's sake!" Like I hate it. But ultimately, like you've just got to adapt. And I do, I think every dealer, they need to be prepared that this new customer that's coming through, they are going to get like that. That they are going to be harder and harder and harder to speak to. And if you don't adapt in a way, you will get left behind. Do you know what I mean? It's just think that's just how it's why I never went to like Motors and eBay because I know my customers they're not going on there. I feel like I know my customer pretty well, but they're just a pain in the ass. That's the best way to describe it.
Your customers on that on there all the time. That's just where their attention span is constantly.
It is.
That's where my attention span is. I looked at my statistics the other day of how often I spend on that phone. And I got a shock.
It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's it is.
Your life goes crazy. It is.
It is. It's just, but that's just the world. That's the world we live in, and I think it's one of those. I don't think I'll ever go into anything different. Like I think once you're in the trade, I don't think you're ever going to get out. And the only thing I wish is I could get my to-do list down because I just can't get it down. Like I'll have it, and then I keep adding stuff to it, and I keep adding, and it just feels like that sort of it's information overload. And when I'm out with missus and stuff, and she's like, I can see you thinking. I'm like, well, because I'm always thinking because they know you're overloaded, aren't you? It's like,
yeah, but I think me knowing you, I think even if you had Utopia, you know what I mean, you still would be firing off constantly, even if you had Utopia.
I think I invented the Spectrum. I think the Spectrum were based around me. I think that's just how just how it were. But I think with the thing in this trade is you're always looking at how can you improve, what can you add to it, and while you like that, it's like I say to my missus, she's been an hairdresser since she was 16. She's got her own salon. She smashes it, and like she'll come home, and I think, how good have you got it? You put those scissors down, and it's over. And the worst thing that can happen to you is June got flu. So she's got to cancel a 2:00 appointment. That's the worst thing that could possibly happen to her. Whereas with me, it's like yesterday, I on a phone call. I was talking to Dave at Lovely Car Company, helping him set a Facebook ad up. And I said, I'll ring you back in a minute. Just had a call come through. And I had a girl, she got an Audi e-tron from us 22 months ago. You already see where this is going to go.
Yeah.
So she's got it 22 months. Yeah. So 22 months ago, she got it, and she'd had it 3 months when she had it with us, and something wrong with gearbox, and it was in Audi manufacturer warranty, only done 19,000 miles, so they fixed it, no problem. And then she said a week later, bear in mind this is nearly 2 years ago, they were never right since then, that she never reported it to Audi. So anyway, turns out now she'd missed her services, like she's admitted that. We have no idea how many miles are on this car, so I'm getting a phone call from Sam who runs my office. The car's completely knackered. And it had coolant contamination that not to do with us.
No.
That actually where the coolant goes in is very close to the battery, so it's completely knackered the battery. So she's gone to Audi, she said in an email 2 weeks ago, it's not your fault. We know it's not your fault. It's just we think it's just been badly made. So she went to Audi. Audi did nothing because she'd not kept up to her services. So she tried the finance company. They just said no to her. So there's an email that comes through that says, I'd like to pursue a claim against you for pushy selling of your sales staff. So I'm thinking, I'm getting this and I'm looking, I'm like, wow, what is going on here? Like, so basically, because 2 people that she's tried, she's not got anywhere. She's had no remorse to look to a family business and thought, well, I'll blame you. And there's things like that in the trade that, like, you have to carry a lot of heavy mental baggage because that gets in your head. And Arthur is thinking, what if they side with her? And like, I haven't done anything wrong. And then, so I had to write this formal letter out back to her. And she rung up then, Sam, and apologised and says, oh, my head were all over. Because we sort of said to her, look, we've tried to help you as much as possible, but now you're accusing of mis-selling. All this help's gone. So it's now a case of if you think that we missold, your solicitor can write to our solicitor and let them figure it out. And I just think you'll never get away from that in the trade. That's one of the hardest things to deal with is unhappy customers. It's so hard to deal with.
One thing you've got going for you though, on that one at least, you know, you'll have all your chat logs and history of everything will be digitized. That you say, well, yeah, shows where I missold you.
Yeah. Do you know what she said it were down to? Because with Dave, who used to be with me, brilliant guy, he'd said to her in the voice, because he sends voice notes, and he said, look, at that time, do you remember when CA were doing mad deals on electrics a few years ago? Do you remember? I don't know if you remember. They were doing these crazy 2-year deals on Teslas and e-trons. I mean,
yes, I do. Well, they're not
crazy.
299 or something like that. 279
Crazy
or something.
deals. There must have been something wrong with their book because everybody just started buying them. Guy bought 18 in one go from BCA, sold them all Teslas on LinkedIn. Just crazy 2-year deals. And at that time, it was like Wolf of Wall Street. It was like phones going like that, and everybody's going mad. Everybody's going mad for it. And all he'd done is he sent her a message and said, I just want to know if you mulled it over because we've got loads of people on this e-tron. They're going crazy at the moment at these prices. And because he said that, she said she was rushed into the decision. We'd like prized her onto it and like forced her into it. And 11 grand she wanted. 11 grand she went for.
Wow.
I mean, to be fair, they're notorious things, aren't they? The e-trons for the batteries and the gearboxes. They're a very bad design. That's why they're worth now.
Yeah. That was the thing as well. It's like when I looked at what she paid for it. The worst thing is she was 6 weeks away from handing the car back to the finance company, PCP, 2-year deal. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, hopefully, I'm hoping, but I can't help her anymore now. I'm hoping there's a garage that can kind of help her get it to some sort of standard and just like try and wash her hands of it. But that's what you're playing with in this industry. It is just it's a mental battle all the time.
We've got on the go at the moment, and it's similar. Well, it's an Evoque with the engine, the chain, and she's done 12,000 miles on the car, and she's had it about like over a year. But it was like, it was faulted purchase. It was this, that, and the other. So we've spoke to the warranty company and we've said, we'll get it in for you. Give her a courtesy car. But a tone and the way she's going about it with my one of the managers who deals with that type of thing, he's reading out the replies to me the other day, and I thought, what a fucking cow she is. Like, she's just not nice, and she's going about the wrong way, where all you want to do is pull the shutter down and just, off with your type of thing. You don't even want to help them. And there's people come, that can approach you in the right way, the customers. I don't know why the general public, a lot of them don't get this. And the thing, it's like respect, isn't it? And if you
Mm.
give somebody a bit of respect, you get it back. And like service advisors or whoever it is, business owners, they'll swim the channel for them and try and help them and so on. But this particular one, so in the finish, we just said, look, we're out. We don't even want to fix your car for you. Can you just drop the courtesy car off and just go somewhere else? Obviously, the warranty company will still stand on with the claim and so on. So it got to that, which was unfortunate because then we look bad and she'll tell everybody that we're bad when it was actually herself.
Yeah, that's the thing. Do you know what the thing is, Scott? We banned Evokes for at a certain point, us. Because what we found about the Evoke was, without stereotyping, it was a certain person that had to have the badge that had literally stretched themselves a lot further than they normally would do. And then when something went wrong on that car, and they do go wrong at that time, it were like back when we first started selling, it was central locking. So like they wouldn't even open. That'd go. They're always electrical stuff, and they would be screaming at you like
It was drama, the whole thing. When we
Yeah.
first started, about minis were just coming to an age, like I don't know, 05s, 54 plates, Mini Coopers. They were starting to come
The older
through.
engines.
Yeah, and we used to. I had a little when I was up at Bedlington, I had a showroom, and then it was full of minis. We had like 30 in stock. But that customer, if there was if you looked at your 1-star reviews, it was all from your Mini customers, and Minis used to fall terribly.
Power steering ones, wasn't it? Yeah.
Terrible, yeah, and the gearboxes were terrible on them. And but the customers, even though you're trying to help them and say, we don't own the car anymore, you own the car, it's your car, we're going to try and fix this for you. There was always just hell on with them, and exactly the same as what you're saying, Danny, with the Evokes. It attracted, a lot of young girls, and which caused problems. Then the dads got involved, and it's just like hard work. Certain cars are probably still like that.
Yeah, 100%. It's it were literally my missus and her friends were Evoke drivers. Like they are like the typical Evoke drivers, and it
My
got to a
daughter's
point.
She's on her second one. She's got
No,
the new
mate,
suit now.
This is the thing, mate. It's like I've got a Range Rover. Michelle's got a Range Rover, and every time we sit there and think like,
Why?
something's going to go wrong with it. Like touch wood, it hasn't. But you do like now. And I watched a podcast where you talked about warranties, Scott, and like your approach to how your lads sell a warranty is exactly the same. Like my lot. So somebody will message me and they say, I want an Evoke or a Sport, and we'll say, we'll sell you one, but you got to take a warranty because it's going to go wrong. And he's literally telling them that, look, we're going to sell you. I'm happy to sell you a good-looking car, but I'm telling you, it's the most unreliable car on the road through stuff that's nothing to do with us. So if you want it, it's fine, but you need to take the warranty. If, like, ask your mates, go on forums, Google that car that you want to buy from us, and the shit. It's just a easy way of easy.
I've actually said that to customers. I've said to a customer who's looking to buy an Evoke, and they went, "Oh, how reliable is that?" I went, "They're notoriously bad." I said, "There's a saying, and there's a saying in the trade. If you're buying a Range Rover or a Land Rover, have you got $2,000 in the bank that you can just throw away? Because if you haven't, don't buy one.
Yeah,
You
it's true,
will need that money."
Yeah.
Thing is, what will happen with that customer though, Danny? They'll come back to you 6 months later and say, You knew that car was going to go wrong. You said they were bad cars. You knew it was going to be your fault.
You almost feel like doing a tongue-in-cheek, bit of a tongue-in-cheek PDF to sign that's wrote to say, I agree that I'm buying a car that could go wrong. Like, I understand that if that goes wrong after so long, it's on me. And then put all the legal bump there. And I think if you do it in a conversational way, it's like saying that, look, when we're selling a warranty, I would train the team to do it, is ask them a question and say, do you ever go to Nando's? 9 out of 10 of them will say, yeah, right, okay. What's your order? I'll do it. How much you spend when you go there? And they're like 35, 40 quid, right? How many times a month do you go? Maybe 3 times a month, right? Sounds. So you spend maybe 100 odd quid on an Nando's. So wouldn't you rather have your car protected for less than what you're spending on an half chicken and some Pyrenees, just to make sure that everything's sorted out? It's like you'd be
be
daft
honest
not
with you,
to.
Danny, I'd rather have a Nando's.
It's true, isn't it? It's true, but it's like you say it to them, and this is the reason why as well that I thought, because we underwrite our own warranties. We got auto. I think it's in Leeds. What's the name of the company now? Do mine. What's the name of the company in Leeds that do mine? I was going to say Rude if he's watching it. It's because I've been with him for years, but I forgot the name.
Not Warranties 2000, no.
No.
Auto Protect?
Auto. Let me have a little
Auto
look.
God.
Auto God. Yeah.
No, wait, I need to, because
Is that- is
it's
that
going to be
many
real.
companies with auto.
Yeah. Warranties Leeds car. I'm going to have to go because they're going to be really pissed off at me.
You mean you sell a product for $12.99? You don't know what it's called.
When you said that
No,
price,
I don't know. 'Cause it's my own. It is my own.
Like,
It's
yeah,
my
yeah.
own
Oh,
warrant.
so
It's my own
they
warranty. They
administer it.
just
They administer it.
they administer it for us, and that's the reason why as well why I put it at a high price, because then I've got leeway. Because if there's something that's not covered,
yeah,
and I know that customer, you just think, do you know what? Here, just do it.
Like you say, if the customer
um,
approaches you in the right manner, you do.
yeah.
And since you've been knocking them out at $12.99, how many a month are you doing?
60% of them so far.
How do you
So
get 40
far,
cars?
so far, yeah.
Good income stream, that mine, isn't it?
So when you start telling lads that they get paid more on warranties than they do on cars, it changes the mindset. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Can I ask Danny, how much do you pay them on a warranty?
£100.
That's good. We pay 60. I think it goes up. It's on a banding system. It jumps up to 80 or something like that. But yeah, £100's good. Yeah, but I suppose if you're selling it for that money, you've got the margin, haven't you?
Yeah, so I pay 75 a car, 100 a warranty, £15 for a 5-star review, which is left like it's a verified review. And then I also give them a percentage of trade profit if they can trade that car on, which obviously we'll be able to start using your platform, because we've got somebody who's going to be dedicated to looking after that side, because that's the side where we never got it right at all. We've got, he's probably watching it, but we had one guy who buys all the swappers, and he's in Marbella now, and there's a reason why he's in Marbella. Do you know what I mean? Because it's literally like having it away all the time, and he's a good lad. But
this is part of the reason why we've done it, because realistically, if you're just keep offering all your part exchange cars to the same guy over and over and over again, you've only got that one bid coming. So he's gonna, what's that worth? Oh, I'll give you $5,000 for it.
What happened to me?
All right, go on then. Aye, but
Prices
if you're putting that car out in an auction on Dealerway and there's 1,700 people get notified that the car's up for sale, do you think you're going to get more than $5,000?
100%, 100%, and it's least. It's nothing to do with the guy who buys them. He's a sound guy, but all he's doing is speaking to other people as well.
Yeah,
but
he's the
we're
middleman.
missing out on. We're missing out on. Not to say I don't want to give him anything else, because he's a good pal. But at the end of the day, we need to be making some money out of his trades. And as we all know now, when you've got customers who are quoting motorway prices constantly to us all the time, it's hard. It is hard to get like a over line.
Danny, that car that came in part exchange, that little Golf, reserve price £600. So in the old days, exactly what you're saying, my guy would have came and I'll give you £500 for it or £600 for it. So I put it on Dealerway. Reserve price is met £1,400.
Wow. Yeah. It's like factor resistance, isn't it, normally?
And what people are doing is people are paying what they want to pay for the car, which is fair enough. We're describing them right, which is fair enough. But the gap where I was losing before was because it was just too easy. Oh, we'll give you £400 for it, £1,000 for it. And you want it gone because it's more of a hindrance to part exchange, because you want the space. You don't know hanging around.
Yeah, space.
With money back in your bank. But again, it's like the old cliche, I suppose. On Dealerway, there could be 2,000 people looking at that car where they think, oh, it's close to me, I want to buy it. Where having 2 or 3 just traders. And I've said this before on the podcast, we might have had 2 traders who we used to use quite a lot over the years, for many years, and bought lots and lots of cars from us. We set up Dealerway, and then I said to them, I've got to put the cars on there now, and you can still buy them on there exactly the same way you do. And they've never bought a car since.
Right.
Not one single car. Because they came in and they've came and sat and they've said, Scott, help us out and give us a couple of cars without putting them onto the platform. And I was like, well, why? That's why we've set it up. And they're like, oh, they're a little bit expensive, the cars. I said, they're not expensive. I says, you were just used to nicking everything before.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You take your hand in your pocket and do them, And we were finding as well when we're putting them on, which we've talked about previously, if you have a good description, the cars you're getting more money because sometimes it's the unknown with a car, and especially mechanical. Like you put discs and pads all around you into 400 quid, and then you couple of arms and this, that, and the other, diagnostic things. If you can put a description on with a car, which we started to do, and said, we've plugged it into our diagnostic, and it's the computer saying it's an exhaust sensor. That's why the EML light's on. Or we've looked at the brakes and we've driven it, and we think it probably needs a set of brakes in time. You can feel it on the pedal. We'll put that in the description. Or you feel a little knocking noise off the front. It's probably just like a drop link. So you don't get any horror stories. And we found that because we're being honest and doing that, the cars were achieving more money. And then also people could come before they paid for the car, which I preferred. Drive it, take it down the motorway, and make sure you're happy before you pay for the car. And it was very rare there was ever a problem with it, and people were happy doing it like that. And that's, I suppose, the thought behind the platform itself. And if everybody embraced it the same way, the sellers would have a good time. They would sell the cars easier and better and faster.
There's a lot of big buyers going on now as well, isn't there? I've got a lot of big buyers coming on now, big main dealer groups and big, large car supermarkets, independents who've got big buying power.
There's a term that somebody taught me once that is that nobody wants to be first and nobody wants to be last. It's a saying that someone told me, and do you know when something sticks in your mind? And I think that's what the motor trade's like. And if I remember when Motorway first came out, I remember those first emails that come through. I might have had 100 cars, and then it just gradually, slowly got there over time. And then once a few people in the trade have had a good experience, then they tell their pals, and then it is. I guess it's like anything. Everybody talking about this in the reason why selling it to the same trader. Creatures of habit, and because motorways so the motor trade's so process driven, when you have to divert off, it takes time to go. But I'm going to, after this, I'm going to see there's 2 cars that I'll try them out and put them on, like
definitely
Fiesta and something else, and see and sort of see what the market's saying. Because my lot, to be fair, are the easiest money they ever earn. If they're getting a chunk of some trade profit, then it's money in their pocket.
We've had a very, very large independent car supermarket join the platform recently. I can't name the name for various reasons, but they're going to be a big seller on there. But they've also started buying some cars as well. Traditionally, we've just had sort of independent dealers on and a few larger independent dealers, and people are buying 1s and 2s, 3s and 4s here and there. But they came on when they got their account went live the other day. They came on and they bought a large volume of cars very quickly. So it's a good time to get good time to get your cars on now. A quick message from our sponsors, DealerWay. Attention Dealer Pod listeners, do you want a better, quicker, more profitable way of trading out of your part exchanges or overage stock? List your cars on DealerWay today and connect with over 2,000 vetted trade buyers actively looking for vehicles. No hidden fees, no hassle. Start your own custom auctions from your desk or the palm of your hand in our game-changing app. Or advertise your stock on quick, easy, buy it now listings to our eager buyers who are waiting to quickly acquire vehicles. What are you waiting for? Join DealerWay today at dealerway.co.uk and streamline your disposals. I was just going to ask you about your finance. Who's your provider for the PCP deals that you do?
So it varies in terms of, I've got MotoNovo Direct, Zopa Direct's just about to come on.
Right.
I'm just in the process with Northridge, but that takes forever to get them on. Just takes yes, it's I think it's Bank of Ireland, so there's a lot of process needs to go through. I use DSG as probably my main broker. I've got a really good relationship with them there, really good people. Evolution, do a lot of business with them there, but I think the reps are really good. at Evolution. I just think that it's got that big now, Evolution, since it's been bought out and stuff, that you kind of don't have the service like you. It's very profit driven all the time. So like I've had times where I've said to them, look, you do me a deal and I'll give you everything. And
Yeah.
they don't budge over. And now obviously all disclosure is out from comms. I can see what everyone's earning. Do you know what I mean? I know what people's margins are in it.
Well, I was just going to say that here.
No,
I was going to say, are you not better off just going direct rather than using like a DSG or an Evolution? Surely the sort of price cars that you're knocking out as well, you'll be able to get big comms going direct.
Yeah, well, you say it's funny because I had CA come to see me a few weeks ago, and them direct couldn't pay me more than what a broker were giving me through them, and I'm like, how does that make any sense? Like,
Because of volume, though, isn't it?
The volume.
yeah,
Yeah. Volume.
and he couldn't even get like anywhere
Near.
near. No Northridge. Once we get over like that'll be a big one for us.
I think what I've noticed with how brokers work is even if you select on their systems, and obviously I'll not name the brokers because there's a few out there, but what I've noticed is if you select a lender or a profile of the finance that you want to send over for that customer, you'll get an acceptance come through with a total different lender with a total different PCP, and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't send that over on that. I sent it over on this. That's It's payment driven. And all you get is, oh well, sorry, they declined it, and with no proof that they've actually declined it or not.
The way and this is the thing. Someone told me who actually used to work at Evolution how it all worked, and it would just they'd have a board, and if they'd have a target they'd have to hit with a certain. If they were behind on a certain funder, they'd just be shuffling it around all. Yeah,
that's
so
just a broker.
Yeah, and that's why, to be honest, that's why I get on really well with DSG, because they've got such a strong relationship with Northridge, and Northridge is probably my main lender who I do business with.
The customers must be strong then. You must be attracting a stronger customer.
We've got a process.
Northridge. I mean, we used to always say if used to have the Queen's mother is guarantor to get through.
No, I'd say they've lowered the bank. They're not as. Well, you all know what it's like. You can on the first of the month, it could get to maybe the 20th of the month, or when all the finance companies, if it targets, stop accepting people, and then all of a sudden, then they come back to the party and then they start accepting. So it's just pot luck a lot of the time.
But you'll have companies that'll have an appetite for 2 or 3 months. All of a sudden, they'll start approving everything, and then you're like, "Oh, we're flying with these," and then they just turn the tap off for the next month, and you're like, well, "What happened there? Why they're not approving no one?" But someone else has stepped up. There's just always someone.
Always somebody.
It's weird, isn't it? How it works.
Yeah, we were our Northridge. We're direct with them, but we used to be via a broker. But obviously, if you're direct, some cars it was strange. Some cars your comms would be better direct, but then there was some that was better via the broker. Even which I thought was strange.
Yeah, what about for rate for risk stuff? Maybe.
No, just like Prime. Yeah, Prime.
Right.
It was weird, and the same thing happened with Alfira. I think we might have switched them off. I'm sure we did a rewind, and there were no support whatsoever. They were terrible, and we were direct with Alfira, and I don't think there's many in the Northeast who are direct, apart from obviously.
No.
Very different.
There was no support. Didn't want to try and work with us on the thing, and what a bad experience. I'm sure we turned them off.
You know,
you don't remember.
Yeah, definitely. You know, when you're buying your stock, Danny, with the model that you've had on Instagram, you know, most dealers obviously are Auto Trader driven and they'll work retail back from Auto Trader. You touched on it before when you said like you saw like 106, 107% of the retail value on Auto Trader. Are you like looking at a car and thinking, right, that's what I can get back for it money wise, or are you looking thinking, I need to buy that car so I can sell it for this payment? If I can get that car and it's and I can offer that car $299 a month, is that how you're buying them?
No, I wouldn't say it's linear like that. Like if you were to go on my Auto Trader and then you can see my profile and you can see the price check, there ain't that many that are like, I probably any that are high price, What I
Right.
mean is that if I were to put, say, a black Premium Plus that's had Panamera grille, put red calipers on it, that's definitely going to be 106 to 107% car because it's going to look completely different to it. On the flip side, let's say if I do a 330e, millions of 330es about, and all I've done is maybe put a front splitter on it, that might be about 102. So I don't like, in terms of think everything is just exactly the way it is. I'll look at things on a case by case basis, and that's the way Auto Trader is. And it's like for me, for some reason, for CLAs, like the CLA is my biggest car, but
So
Auto
you like
Trader,
a CLA, don't you? I've noticed that.
easiest car to sell in the world. It's like,
Yeah.
is the engine size right? Even though it's not best quality engine, it's
Can I ask you that-
perfect.
Danny, your CLAs, you know the 1.3s? Do you have any problems with those or not?
Yeah, I've had probably 2 where engine blew, but
Really?
I've sold loads. Yeah,
Oh,
I've sold loads.
I was on
But
before you came on. Obviously, we do our homework, and I was on your website, and I thought your website's really nice. There's some dealer websites you go on, and you think, oh, the website's awful. But yours is really like what I would say, dead clean and crisp, and your cars are well presented and photographed, and especially the images. Um,
Mm.
you know, and if I was a consumer looking to buy a car and it landed on yours, you're just confident. It just looks like a good outfit, you know. What about? I was going to ask you. You know, you mentioned the 330Es. Do you ever have any problems with those E's? Because I was told to stay away from them, and I had a couple in stock, and they just didn't seem to sell very quickly.
The
From them already.
the Again, flat pack them up, put a bit of a body kit on them,
Yeah.
and they go. This is a new website from Click. Is this? They completely redesigned everything.
I used to be with
Um,
Click, a good company.
Say again.
I used to be with Click. They're really good, but we left them because the workshop side of their
Yeah.
DMS is not very good, you know, and it's and we used to use TechMan, and theirs is very good, but I had 2 systems, so we moved over to Dragon to try and just go onto one system. But Click Dealer were excellent. I always thought they were really, really good.
Yeah. The sound that they're, the end of the day, they're a business that there to make profits. They're not definitely not the cheapest. But the customer service is really good. If I've got something that I want to change or I see on the website, I can ring them up and they'll sort it out on the phone for me, which I think's really important. Where you see a lot of dealers who might use other dealers that are nowhere near as expensive, but it's how robust it is. But on the flip side, you've got to put quality stuff out.
Yeah.
On the website as well. So yeah, it's a decent enough website.
Danny, without giving away your trade secrets, what about stock sourcing? Are you the same as mainly all of us? You know, is it a mix of, auctions or private, or are you just private, or motorway and Carwow? What type of thing?
Same. Yeah. Aston Barclay, BCA, motorway, car.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to tell too many people this actually, but I always get cheaper cars on Carwow than I do on motorway. Always cheaper.
Yeah, we do.
Always.
But you don't get the sexy stuff on Carwow. Mainly that's more on motorway, we find.
Yeah. Yeah, we do that. But I've got like a virtual assistant, which Martin knows that I love a virtual assistant. That basically I'll put in a spreadsheet every single car that I've seen at auctions. Could be 30, 40 in that day, and then next day he'll have gone into like my portal, price marked it on 104, 106, looked at all the finance quotes, and then in the morning I'll get to see, right, what shall I bid on? And he'll tell me my retail ratings and everything. So I then pass that on to Ben, who'll then decide what he wants to go out and buy. So I think that you have to look at, obviously, with our sort of stock, because I've only got a ceiling of what I'll pay, I probably have to bid on 5 times more things than everybody else does to get the cars that I need to get. Just because it's all over the place. You can just don't feel like there's a formula at the moment for auction.
Would you rely on because it's obviously the talk of the trade, the margins getting tighter? Do you still rely on the bonnet profit? That, if you sell a car, cash no bits, and it's not in finance, do you make sure you still got a margin across it, or you how low would you kind of get that squeezed?
It's hard. It's to get a cash margin when you've brought a car in from auction. You've prepped it, and we prep them to like very, very high standard. We're not like Nama where you're looking at 2 meters away. Like, we just don't do that. So for us to prep the cars to standard, we do it. Everything through servicing, MOT, and then by the time we do a black park, you'd be lucky to have £1,000 left in chassis. You'll be very lucky to have £1,000 left. But
Well, a
then,
20 grand motor as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then you've got, but then obviously then you've got your financing that on top, which we earned decent out of finance, which is always more than what the chassis is the finance, and then you mix a warranty on top. You can still
Pull it
effectively
round,
make a good. Yeah, you can pull it round, but then when you get a cash customer on Auto Trader, you think,
Aye.
oh God, do you know what I mean? It's like you can't stop them. You know what I mean? You can't stop them, but it's just one of those things that, and I think. I honestly, I do. I look and I think, how are people making big cash margins out of the stock that I sell? Like, I don't think I don't think the cash margins are there, to be honest.
No.
Which is quite alarming, really.
Danny, can I just drag you back because you touched on it before and it sort of skipped over it when you mentioned virtual assistant. Can you explain for Scott what that is? Because I think Scott thinks the virtual assistant is like a little Mario character on your screen or
Right.
something.
So
Is it like that? That movie with Megan Fox in, that latest one that's been on Netflix, and she's like a robot.
that's AI. No,
Oh,
is that
no,
AI?
that's AI. Yeah. So basically, I've probably only ever read 5 books in my life. Like, I don't have the attention span to read a book. And I read a book called 4 Hour Work Week, which the concept's a load of bollocks in Motor Trade, to be fair. But it's by a guy called Tim Ferriss. And he basically, how he lives is he uses his currency in countries where our pound. So if you went to India and you had a pound in India is buying you a lot more than it buys you at home. So he employs people from countries where our currency is the strongest, highly skilled people to go and work to work and do tasks that other people wouldn't necessarily want to do. So I've had one for 7 years, and it's been the longest standing member of staff apart from my mum. Like, it's the only person that's lasted. And every day, anything I need doing gets done. No mourning, no questioning why I'm doing it. No, this isn't my job role. But the salary I pay to him is like an equivalent of somebody going and working in Canary Wharf in London, because the money I pay him is just that far. So you're not like exploiting anybody. It's just an amazing tool to have. So
Right.
I've got two to be.
Do you mind
Say
sharing what you pay him, Danny?
So it works out at about 15,000 a year. It works out at, but the work involved from that's by the way, that's two. That's 2 virtual assistants. That's 2.
$7.5 grand a year for someone
Yeah.
full time.
But you say full time, but they do stuff for different people. So they're not
Like a couple of
on.
hours.
Yeah, they're only doing 2 or 3 hours a day, and then they've got other clients so they might. And the great thing about it is, so my one about 7 years, Azuru, he's in Sri Lanka, so he's like nearly 7 hours ahead. So I set all my work as the day is finishing for me, and when I wake up in the morning, everything's done for me. And then I speak to him for a few hours in my morning, and then that's it. Don't need to speak to him again. And then I just set it up, rinse and repeat. Like, he puts all my invoices that come into our invoices app, puts them on ClickDealer. So the day after, every time a supplier sent me an invoice, I can look on my Civ, and my costs are on my Civ all the time. Just things that, that it sounds like people, it's just like I'm
Like an admin
against
role.
him. Yeah, but I'm against employing people. I'm not. I've got
No,
staff,
no.
but it's just so expensive now, and all this NI that's coming, everything's going up, and also a lot of the time, people just don't want to do things that you ask them to do. Do you know, like just certain the mindset of some people. So I've just always done that. And the thing about it is, it's not and when you hire one, if it doesn't work out for you, you just walk away. You know, it's not like when you've got to go through HR and that sun's just coming in there. You've got to go through all the HR process and things like that. So it's just something that I've always felt's my little thing that's took me to where I need to be. Like Michelle will be like, God, you talk to him more than you speak to me. And I says, yeah, but his sound, he's all right. he don't ever answer me back. He's fine. So yeah, it's I'd recommend it to you will, even if you just have one for a couple of hours a week, honestly, it'll change your life. Like it's the best thing I ever did. To the point he messaged me 2 days ago, man, and asked if he could come over to UK to spend a little bit of spend a little bit spend a little bit of time. So I don't know if it's like some sort of catfish thing. And
Have you never met him before then?
No, I've always had it in my head that I'll go to Sri Lanka. But you know, I've got loads. It sends me photos at kids and stuff like that. And I know what it's been with me full time for so long. So like, you realise what you're doing for people in a country where it's massive. This sort of, and he'll have a client in America that'll go do, and you'll just play off against the time zones.
It's amazing,
it is, and it just takes away stuff that you don't need to be doing. Do you know what I mean? It's like putting invoice to hire somebody to go and doing bookkeeping just to put your invoices on ClickDealer. In the UK, you might be spending £12-13 an hour, maybe for that. Maybe.
Yeah.
I hope my girl who works for me, Donna's watching this. I'm going to show her this. I'm going to show her this segment and say, "Look, I'll have you replaced."
No, but my mum,
She probably moved to Sri Lanka.
My mum does my bookkeeping, but what she does is she just checks over briefly that everything's all right and just keeps an eye on it. So, like, you know, just he does all the heavy lifting, and then she'll just keep an eye on it. So it's honestly, you can get them on like freelancer.com, upwork.com, Fiverr.com. It's one of the best things. You've just got to sit and think, what could I pass off that I don't need to do? What drains my time? Like Dave at Lovely Car Company, he does everything. He does absolutely everything. All his invoices, puts them on, and thinking, your use of time, that you don't need to do that. You don't need to do stuff like that. So yeah,
I like his crack. That Dave from Lovely Car Company, he used to do a lot of the pods with Joe, didn't he?
Yeah.
When I went on to Joe's podcast, I was expecting Dave to be on as the host, and he wasn't, and I was a bit gutted that I never got to have a bit crack with him, because he comes across as a good guy, good laugh.
Dave's ace. Dave is ace. He come away from the pods for it just because he were doing that much doing it that he won't spend enough time in his own business and sorting his own. You can easily, when I were filming, I only got 2 or 3 episodes down on my place. And I realised that I was like, all I'm doing here is thinking about content. And when I'm walking in the office, I'm like Brent, like David Brent, and I'm thinking like what I'm going to say and stuff. And when you realise that all I need to be doing is buying cars, selling cars, and figuring it out, I felt like I was turning into too much of a bit of reality star, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
trying a bit.
You were putting a couple of videos out on YouTube, weren't you?
Yeah. And the reason I stopped it as well, I will pick it back up, is I say on one of the last episodes, and I can say this because it is fine. I say on one of the episodes, I pushed my prep manager to the absolute max, and I'd overloaded cars, and I was like, I hope Callum's going to be all right. I hope he don't quit. And you know what he did? He fucking quit. He quit like 2-3 days later. And I messaged him, and like when he was quitting, like I were on holiday, and he handed his notice in, and like he just says, I can't do it anymore. Like basically, he's gone to do new car sales over at VW. Top lad, but it was just doing his head in. And I says, mate, I've said at the end of that episode, telling you not to quit, and I've got to go on camera Yeah, quit. Yeah. Yeah, it's that's one of those. But I don't think I could commit. I can't do an episode every week. It's just
No,
it's too much.
I mean, even running this podcast, I do all of the editing for it at the moment and put the
pod
intros
mixes.
on. The Scott calls them the pod mixes,
Mix.
and it's like trying to sort the audio out because we're gonna do with some better audio and just all the other stuff that comes with it. It's time consuming. Like, I mean, we're only doing one a week, but it is time consuming.
Oh, 100%.
You're thinking about who we're going to get on next and chasing people down to come on. Or, well, actually, we're getting people approaching us now. But it's difficult. But we enjoy it though, don't we, lads? I think we do.
Yeah.
It's great, obviously, getting to talk to people like yourself and getting other people's perspectives from up and down the country and learning different bits. Because 10 years ago, me and you and Scott, obviously we're working with Martin, but you would never have met, never had this conversation, never have like picked up. I mean, I've wrote a few bits down what you've been saying, just a few little notes to go and have a look at myself afterwards.
Yeah. But look at me though, like if I hadn't watched your podcast, last week,
you wouldn't
I
have
wouldn't
Neil.
have had Neil.
Yeah.
So do you know, it's like I find I watch this, like I get up early, me, and when my missus is in bed, I'm setting copy, and it's like I'm warming myself up to the day, and I'll watch something like this, and I'll get a few little nuggets, and then I'm off. So it's always these are good. Where
I remember going down to Leeds because I was based at home most of the time, but I remember going down to Leeds and be like, "Where's Danny? Oh, he's off for a walk." And like 2 hours later, he's got his pods in, and he's like, he just come wandering back in.
And after
on the phone.
but that time though, that time when you were there, how many staff were there? There were loads.
Was it 13, 14? Something like that, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Well, they couldn't even get a desk because there were just sales staff. And it were overload. It was just information and just like relationship. It worked hard, and I remember that's why.
Plus, you had to put up with Martin as well.
No, he mate. I said, like I said when you joined Group Dougie, I said straight away. I said like Martin was the best because he were leagues above like his knowledge and stuff like that. He were good, and it were kind of like most people would agree with me because they just wanted me to pay him. Whereas like with Martin, he'd sort of, if he thought I were wrong about something, I won't argue. I won't argue, but he just he would educate me. He'd educate me.
Challenges you, doesn't he? He likes to challenge you.
Yeah, it's good though.
You need that. Last year's I can start a fight in an empty room.
Oh, you could,
yeah, but at the end of the day, I think you need that. I think you need people to be like leveling you down because it's easy to think that you're always right.
You want to give you lip service, isn't it? And blow smoke up your arse is the other term. But
it's great, but sometimes I just want to punch you and just say, "No, do it, mate."
It's when you sit there and go, nah. Fuck, right.
Yeah. It is. But that's just how it is. And I think that there's not many other trades where there's that many things that you need to know, you need to learn, and you also need to adapt to new things coming out. So it's just you're getting bombarded all the time with stuff. So you're just constantly like on that wheel. And this is where I've got a really bad habit of oversharing and telling too much to people, and that's why I've sort of stepped away a little bit from the office and working.
And you thought you'd come on the podcast and
but you know what I mean. Like
unless you haven't said he's overworking someone.
It's like literally. And when I were filming, and that's one of the things when I were filming stuff, I found that like I was pushing too hard, and not because I was thinking, well, I want to show that everything's smashing and stuff. And another reason why I didn't want to film so much as well is what I found with a lot of the YouTube channels is too many people like doom and gloom and bad stories and things like that. I don't want to share. For me, that's me personally. I don't want to go and share a bad story about a nightmare customer just because it's my name above the door.
Of course,
it's too easy to get hold of me. I just don't think it's. I know I get it. I get why people do it, but I don't. yeah, I think that it just give me too much of a negative mindset. It's probably the best way to describe it. So yeah, that's why I don't share.
Danny, we could speak to you for another 2 or 3 hours easily. We'll hopefully get you back on at some point, mate. But I think,
Definitely.
But before you go, do you have any advice for anyone starting out in the motor trade, anyone in the dealer way community that you give some advice to? What would it be?
My advice would be is if you're just starting out, focus on a small amount of types of car and get good at that. Just go to the auction and buy anything, because if you don't know anything about it, you just fail. The reason why we've done as well as we've done is I know what my profile is, and I think get to know your profile. I had a guy who leaving the police force who I know is watching this, and he wanted to get into cars. That's the first thing I said. He says, "Why don't?" I said, "Sell 5 different types of car, and that's it. But learn every single thing about those 5 different types of car. You know, like for a first-time buyer, learn what goes wrong on them. Use stuff like ChatGPT as well. It'll teach you what characteristics go wrong on a car. That's it, and then just build and scale from there, and then be patient as well. Realize that things are going to go wrong." And yeah,
that's a good idea. Good advice. That to just stick to 5 cars or something. It's good. That really good.
I'd say so. I'd say so. I just think when people go to auction and just buy anything and they don't know what they're doing, it's like you're asking yourself for trouble. But that's me personally.
Danny, where can people find you? Where can people hear your DJ music and your sets? And
Oh, don't call that. You don't listen to me. I'm done. I'm over ill.
Is the little one still doing it, or?
Yeah. So George, so we lived in Ibiza when he was 9. Did a full summer out there. He does paid gigs, does George? Like he,
Yeah.
He's not
11 now, I think, isn't he?
He's 11 now. Yeah. But he does paid gigs and stuff. He's technically. I did a talk to some kids last night in a youth club not far from us, and like they're asking about, and I say technically, and this is no gas, technically better than me. Technically, he's just got something there. So yeah, he's like ridiculous. He come on. There's a video that had millions of views, and I brought him on as a surprise at one of my sets in a daytime set, and he stood up there in front of about 1,200 people and just did this like transition thing, and everyone was just like, "What the hell has just gone on here?" And then that's in his Leeds tour. And then he just went home and played on the street and played football, straight back out again. And they were like,
excellent.
Check him out. Yeah, George Bond.
Yeah. So where can people find you then?
DB Automotive UK, Instagram, db-automotive.com, and a little bit on Facebook. And I'm definitely coming back to YouTube. Just I'll have to pick up on the Callum story.
Danny,
live from Callum's leaving party.
Thanks very much for coming on, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
nice one.
Thanks, Danny.
No problem.
See you later. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.